job in this film.
Thank you.
You know, I had a lot of laughs in this film. Is that intentional?
Definitely. It's a very tough film to market in a way because we don't want to say it's a comedy, but we also want to tell the audience that it's okay to have a good time and to kick back and have fun with it, that we don't take it too seriously, you know, they shouldn't take it too seriously. I think that Bill Murray's presence lends a certain tone. I know that when I watch it with an audience and Bill comes on screen for the first time, people kind of go, oh, okay, I guess I can, you know, laugh at this.
Well, when I see films, let me paraphrase this, but when I see films that are not intentionally made that way, but they're awkward, and then I finally got into it about 15, 20 minutes in the group. I thought, oh, this is all intentional. You know,
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, you know, John McNaughton, the director, he has a very kind of twisted sensibility, and he has that sort of sense of humor that comes out in the movie. I also think that there's a couple of different ways that you could go with this particular film, and his choice of it, which I think is in some ways kind of reflective of South Florida and how that whole thing is that he just decided to make it a little bit larger than life. Everything's big, bright colors, big mansions, big alligators, big stuff, you know, and it's all of the stuff is dialed up just a hair.
When you look at Wild Things, what kind of jumps out and pleases you the most?
Well, my favorite thing about Wild Things is to sit and watch it with an audience. Because when I first read the script, I read about 15, 20 pages of it, and I thought, what a piece of crap. I couldn't believe that it was even sent to me. And then I kind of stayed with it, and it took a turn, both in terms of the plot and also in terms of the tone of the film. And I kind of thought, well, oh, I know what this is, now I know what this is. And then I didn't. And then I didn't again, and I didn't again. And I got to the end of the movie, and I put it down, and I went, wow. I almost hate to admit it, but I really enjoyed that movie. I enjoyed reading it. And when I sit in the audience and watch people watch it, people go through the same kind of process. And I think that's a fun thing.
When I see movies, you know, there's Schindler's List, but there's also guilty pleasures. And this is a guilty pleasure.
You got it, man. This is a guilty pleasure. And you know, I've made movies that have had some historical significance, or they've had a social or a political conscience, or they've been about something that I somehow wanted to work out in my own soul, you know. And this is a movie that is really just for fun, you know. It's to go and get a big bucket of corn and sit back and have a good time.
When a movie is called Wild Things, you know what, I always appreciate movies that are truthful and honest about what they're about. You know, I walk into a movie like Wild Things, and you know, you're not going to take the youth group from church, and you're not going to take the kids.
Definitely not.
And it delivers. It ends up being what it's about. And is there a sense of freedom too when you make a movie like this?
Well, I think there is a sense of freedom, and I also have always been a strong proponent in this movie of really pushing the envelope in terms of its sexuality, because that's what it is. I mean, if you were to back away from it and say, oh, we can't do that, oh, we're going to offend some people, or oh, we got to make a movie that maybe 13-year-olds can see as well, I think you undercut the integrity, if there is any integrity, of something like this. You know what I mean? You do exactly what you're talking about. You don't make the movie that it is. And I think that in Wild Things, it's all there. It's wild. It's got to be.
Dang, if you're going to make a nasty film, make a nasty film.
That's right.
Isn't that true? In working with the actors on this, because I know you produced the film, executive produced the film, and working with actors on this film, it's daring for some of them.
Definitely. I think that for Neve Campbell, whose career up until this point has really been based on very sweet girl next door kind of characters, she's got to push the envelope a little, and I think it's actually a smart thing for her to do. You know, Denise Richards is a woman who we don't really know that well. She's really only done Starship Troopers, and to come out in such a overtly sexual kind of part is, again, kind of a risky thing. You know, that's the kind of movie that it is. you know, it's a risky movie.
You made a really good choice in this. I think a really smart choice. And one is that if you're gonna make them push the envelope, then you have to push it too. Do you feel that about you and exploring sexuality in movies for you?
Frankly, I think it's, in terms of sexuality in movies for me, there's been not that much of it. Frankly, I don't think enough of it. I would like to explore it more, you know. I mean, I think that for whatever reason, I don't tend to get the girl, you know. And I think it's an interesting part of the human condition. And you know, in this movie, for instance, you know, Matt gets all the fun stuff. You know, he's rolling around with the girls and, you know, driving the airboat and feeding the alligators.
That's what happens when you're executive producer?
Yeah, I guess you got to step back and let somebody else have fun.
And you do it. Let me ask you a question about acting. It's a little more cerebral. But if you didn't make a dime doing this, and there was no publicity or no notoriety about what you're doing, it just gets down to the moment of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you really love about acting?
I guess, I think I find it therapeutic, because I find that it's a way to get in touch with myself emotionally and put a lot of feelings that I have, you know, into my work. And I like to do it for people, honestly. I mean, I know that you said the money and the notoriety, but it's not that exciting for me if there's nobody out there to do it for, you know. I like rehearsal, it's interesting, but it's just a way of getting it onto the stage or onto the screen. Because really the driving force for me is to be seen doing it, you know. And I think that that's why I became frustrated ultimately with acting schools and acting teachers, because I felt so often it wasn't about actually getting out and doing it for anybody other than a handful of people that were in the class, you know. I want to do it in front of people. You know?
Do you find acting as fulfilling now as when you started?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Because there's always new challenges to it. I think that the things that you learn as a person inform what you do with your work. And the more life experiences you have, the more you're able to actually bring to the table. And in that way, you can find new roles that you really probably wouldn't have any kind of an understanding of earlier on in your career, and you get to really throw yourself into something more challenging, more complex, older, you know. I still love it.
Now that you have distance from the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game,
I have distance?
Yeah,
I wish I had a little more distance.
It's been out a while.
Yeah, oh, I see.
Are you flattered by it?
Yeah, no, I am flattered by it. I mean, I honestly don't really think that it's an acknowledgement of anything other than I've done a whole lot of movies, and in a lot of those movies, there's been a lot of people in them. You know, I've done a lot of movies with big casts, you know. I think it's kind of like a coincidence. I think these guys could have been sitting around the room and, you know, seen somebody else and come up with the same idea. But I can say that if it wasn't me, and I kept having to hear about another actor all the time having this stupid game, it would start to bug me after a while. And one time somebody implied to me, they said something like, well, you know, you could do the game with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was like, hey, wait a second, that's my game. Wait a second, pal. You know, put your gun away, big man.
You have ownership. It's your game. It is your game. Nice job.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.